There are a lot of new AR-15 owners out there, and understanding your rifle is really important. And to be honest with you, it's not that difficult. Once you know the basics, once you kind of see how it functions, it'll lead you to be able to work on your gun, repair it, diagnose a problem, a lot of other things, plus add aftermarket parts. So we're just going to look at the trigger and the hammer system, your fire control system. How does it work on an AR-15 rifle? We have your hammer, hammer spring, trigger, trigger spring, disconnector, the disconnect spring, hammer and trigger pins. We're going to also take a look at your selector switch, or your safety. Now, to me, one of the best ways to do this without a cutaway receiver, and even then it's kind of difficult to see. This really gets it to where you can see each of the parts and how they interact. This is your hammer with the spring attached, and these springs come all the way back and rest on the trigger pin. This creates a lot of spring tension on your hammer. In fact, that hammer wants to go forward. The only thing that's holding it, honestly, is the trigger. Here's your trigger and your trigger spring. The feet of your trigger spring actually rest at the bottom of the receiver, and this causes tension to bring the trigger always forward, and that gives you pressure when you pull back on the trigger. This is your disconnector. It fits down into the trigger, and one of the things it does is slows the hammer down enough to catch on the surface of the trigger right here. And also, this is for your reset, and we're going to look at how that works. Now, here we have the hammer in fire position, and this is the bottom of your hammer. This is the farthest most part of your trigger system. This is your Sear Engagement surface, and we're going to look at the front of it in a minute. And then right here is your cocking serration. When I pull down on the trigger, it releases the hammer and it goes forward to hit the firing pin. Now, here is the Sear Engagement surface on your trigger, and if you'll notice, it's machined. These can be kind of rough, and this adds to a little bit of the grittiness of your trigger pull. But this area right here locks into this area right here, which is the cocking notch. And this area right here has been machined as well. If these surfaces have lines or tool marks on them, it does cause a little bit of grittiness. Some people will polish this. Now, if you're doing any kind of polishing or relieving any metal from here, it will cause malfunctions if you do too much. So you want to be careful not to remove a lot of metal. Here, the Sear Engagement surface fits right into the cocking serration. Now, this hammer, like I've said, is under extreme spring tension, and this is the only thing that's holding it into place. Okay, again, here we see it mounted. So what happens is when you pull the trigger, the fulcrum pulls down, the hammer goes forward, and then when the bolt brings the hammer back, now if you hold the trigger back for reset, it will lock into the hammer like this. Once you let go, it releases back into the Sear Engagement lock. So now you have it locked again. So you're going to have to pull the trigger in order to fire it. The disconnect also grabs hold of the hammer just long enough to help it to catch on the Sear Engagement surface. Now, to demonstrate the selector switch, or what a lot of people refer to as the safety, there is a rounded, half-rounded area that comes all the way through, and then there's a cutout on the other side. Here on the trigger, there is a little bit of a lowered area. It's raised up for the spring. This area right here is where the safety selector rests. When this is pointed forward, you are on safe. This keeps the trigger from being pulled. When you turn it, you allow for a channel so that the trigger can be pulled and then pulled back into place. Once the safety is turned back, it locks into place. Once it's on fire, you have enough clearance to where you can manipulate the trigger. Now, this is a quick overview of how the trigger works, and if you want to leave some extra additional comments, of course, below, please do so. There are a lot of guys that know a lot more about the AR-15 system and the M16 system than I do. But I just want to give you a really good demonstration of how things work. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. The AR-15 trigger system. The AR-15 trigger. The AR-15 trigger group. The AR-15 trigger group. Trigger group. Trigger group. Trigger group. Trigger group. How do you say trigger? Shoot.
Of course, when working on any firearm, you must be safe, totally safe, with a helmet, ballistic goggles, something to keep the fumes from breathing in fumes from the AR-15 oils, and a bulletproof vest. This will keep you safe when working on your rifle.